Phobias are defined as irrational fears that are debilitating in a way that it can affect you from functioning normally. So not wanting to go back to work on Monday morning is not a phobia. However, fearing that you might have been sloppy the last time you hunted, leaving enough DNA evidence for the police to begin building a profile and start closing in on you,
as they narrow down the list of suspects and begin working on court orders to search your safe houses. And as you look inward on your wretched soul, you see that black pit of despair, that fear eating away every hour, every minute at your psyche as you creep towards the edge, eventually letting it consume you whole.
That's the level of fear we're talking about. Anyway, here's the tier list categories. At the bottom we have phobias that make sense, which I'll let you guess what goes in there. Next, we have the dumb phobias, which are phobias that are ridiculous and the premise of the phobia itself is dumb. After that we have the unreasonable phobias, which I know the letter E doesn't fit in the first line and I could probably just move it here, move this left a bit and then colour it in, but I think it's funny, and if it triggers your OCD then unlucky I guess. The tier after are the reasonable phobias, so phobias that everyone might not have but everyone can sympathise with. And the final tier are the cursed phobias, which are also pretty self-explanatory. Our first phobia will be arachnophobia, which I personally don't understand much myself. Like, why don't we just let the spiders get married? Jokes aside, the majority of people who have arachnophobia live in areas where there's no real threat of death by spider. Like, you never really hear about Australian people having arachnophobia even though they actually have to take precautions to not die. I even heard that they banned an episode of Peppa Pig in which she befriends a spider because they thought that small children would go around trying to play with spiders that might kill them. So yeah, I'm going to put this in an unreasonable phobia, unless you're Australian. Next we have Ablutophobia, which is the fear of bathing. And I'm just going to put this bluntly, it's going to go into dumb because unless you were waterboarded in a CIA black site, there should be no reason why bath water would give you paralysing fear. Scopophobia is our next phobia, which is the fear of being watched, which is something that most of us have experienced at one point. Everyone has had that feeling at least once, where they are alone in a room and all of a sudden they get this cold feeling on the back of their neck, which weirds you out enough to check behind you in the corner or in the closet. Thankfully I can tell you that no one else is back here and you should continue watching the video. Another strange part of this is that people can often tell when you're looking at them from behind, even though there is no physical stimulus to alert them to it, but yet they still realise you're looking at them. So for these reasons, Scopophobia is going to go into the cursed phobias, as it has some supernatural basis that I'm just not sure what it is. Our next two phobias were researchers just taking the piss, to be honest. You want to know what the fear of palindromes is? Aibohphobia, which is spelled in such a stupid way just to make it a palindrome. There are no other words in the English language that contain bohp in that order, it's just this one. That's not even the worst of it. Hippopotamonstrosis crepidaliophobia is the fear of long words, which, even if we're forced to use the Greek naming convention, why didn't they call it megalo-lexi-phobia, which means big word fear, and it's the same thing, only using half the letters. Obviously the people who named these phobias were doing it on purpose just to be dickheads. I'm going to put those two in dumb, because obviously they're just dumb. After that we have Halitophobia, which is the fear of bad breath, which I'm going to put into unreasonable phobias, as although there are some people whose breath is so bad that you could probably smell it through a walkie-talkie, it's still irrational to have this be a debilitating fear. Next is PhoboPhobia, which is the fear of fears, and for being meta, I'm going to put this into the dumb section. Ideophobia is the fear of ideas or concepts, which just seems exhausting if you ask me, because you could be minding your business one minute, and then you're on the floor in a ball in the next, because you thought about what you might be having for dinner later that night. Ideophobia is going to go into the dumb section. Our next phobia is one that I would personally just consider an extension of halitophobia, that being Francophobia, which is the fear of French people. Really, that's all I'm going to say on this topic, as I can already hear the rustling of baguettes as they rush to their AZERTY keyboards to type their nonsense in the comments. This one's going into reasonable fears. Trypophobia is our second cursed phobia, and is one that I actually have, to at least a somewhat degree. I think the reason why they're just so creepy to me is that most normal phobias like fear of snakes, heights or dogs might come from behaviours that were seen as advantageous to our ancestors. Such as if you were afraid of snakes, you wouldn't go into the bushes and get bitten by one, and you could pass on your genes and your fear of snakes. That's all well and good, but a lot of people have trypophobia, and it really doesn't make sense why an arrangement of holes in close proximity is enough to trigger a fear response, or at least unease in a lot of people. Maybe there were giant hole demons that used to run around, but other than that, I don't know why. But what I do know is that it's going into the cursed tier. Genophobia is the fear of knees or kneeling, which all I'm going to say is your girl never had it when she was over at mine. It's going into the dumb section. Similarly, phagophobia is the fear of swallowing, and yeah, you can probably see where I'm going with this one. Also in the dumb section. Palindrophobia is the fear of bald people, which, controversially, I'm going to put in the reasonable tier. The reason I'm doing this is because bald people are generally filled with more rage than the average non-baldy. Now, is this because of insecurity due to baldness, or other unrelated issues? I'm not sure. All I know is that a lot of them are violent, so fear of the baldies is going to go into the reasonable section. Our last phobia is Panphobia, which is the irrational fear of pans. I was going to put this in the dumb section, but I'm just going to put it in here because it is a bit skewed towards dumb in this tier list if I'm going to be honest. Now, some of the more eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed that the phobias that make sense tier is empty, and if you didn't, then I'd probably be worried. You might think that I did this on purpose because I'm making a statement about phobias and how, when you rationalize them, none of them fit in the making sense tier. But in reality, I forgot about that tier when writing the script. So let's just all assume that it was done purposefully and I am a genius social commentator. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, consider subscribing and maybe even hitting the like button. But other than that, thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next one. Bye. Actually, one last thing before I go. Although I do have a long list of video ideas planned, if you have any ideas that you would like to suggest, put them in the comments, and if they're interesting enough, I might be able to shoehorn them in earlier. But yeah, bye.